and welcome to this In English tutorial. Today we're going to talk about adverbs of frequency. Now, when we talk about frequency, we're talking about the number of times that something happens over a period of time. Let's take the summertime, like we have on our timeline that you see on the left-hand side of your screen. Let's imagine it's summertime and Dave is a surfer and he loves to go surfing in the summertime. Let's see what happens. There we see Dave has been surfing 5 times during the summer months, and there is a time interval between each of those periods or those events of going surfing. So Dave surfs 5 times in the summer, and there is a time interval between each of those events. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's more like a month, that each month Dave then goes surfing. But let's have a look at the winter time. What happens to Dave in the winter time? Well, here you can see during the same period of time in winter, Dave only surfs twice, and the interval between the times that he surfs is now twice as long. In the summertime, the interval is short. In wintertime, the interval is somewhat longer. Now, that's what we refer to when we refer to frequency. It's the number of time an event happens over a period of time. Now, in English, we have different words to indicate frequency. So let's take a look at some of the words we use in English when we refer to frequency. If we take a continuum, and on the left, we move towards things that happen less frequently, and towards the right, we move towards things that happen more frequently. Let's have a look at some of the words that we can use to express frequency in English. Well, in the middle, we might use the word normally. In other words, something that happens as a course of events. This is something that normally happens in your life. There's nothing out of the ordinary in terms of normally. But let's move to the very least frequent or less frequent end of the spectrum. There we have never. And we use the word never when we want to describe something that, well, never happens. Its frequency is 0. It simply never happens. If we move slightly more frequent, then we could use the term hardly ever. So never, hardly ever. Moving more towards the more frequent end of our continuum, we could use the word seldom. Still further, occasionally, sometimes, and then of course normally. If we move towards the more frequent side of normally, we might use the word usually, often, frequently, almost always, and then always. Always indicating that something never ends. So let's take a look at examples of the use of some of these words in sentences. Let's start with our continuum at the top. On the left-hand side, we move towards minus 100%, in other words, the never. And on the other end of the spectrum, we've got a positive 100%, and there would be the word always. So we start in the middle with I normally get up at 6 a.m. in the morning. And there you see that's indicated on our continuum at about the 0 mark. If we go right to the other end, have a look what happens to our bar at the top. I never go to the shopping mall on Fridays. It's just too crowded. I never. I hardly ever watch TV during the week. There you see our bar moves back a little bit. We're moving towards the more frequent end of the spectrum. James seldom goes jogging. He prefers to go to the gym. There our bar moves still further. Susan occasionally likes to wear jewelry, even more frequent. Sometimes I like to drive into the country for lunch, still more frequent. Now let's take a look at the other side of the continuum. Catherine always parks her car in the same parking bay every day. Always. So now we've moved right to the positive 100% side of our continuum. Peter almost always comes to work late. There we've moved back a little. Less frequent. I frequently check my phone to see if I have any messages. There we've moved slightly less frequent again. Jane often rides her bike to the shops. Still less frequent. And lastly, I usually get home at 5 p.m. in the afternoons. So there you have the full range from never to always, and then some of the adverbs of frequency that we use in English to indicate more frequent or less frequent events. Let's take a quick look at the overview and see it on a timeline. Well, I trust this in English tutorial has been helpful for you. Check our Facebook page and our YouTube channel from time to time for more videos. And of course, you can go to our website at www.inenglishacademy.com for more of the same.